My children soon will be gods. この狩りの始まりだ。
Ladies and gentlemen, when I tell you that professional wrestling, though looked at and mocked nowadays and not treated with the same respect as certain art forms out there, there is no doubting the fact that wrestling has given birth to some of the biggest icons and some of the biggest names in human interaction. For instance, when I say Hulk Hogan, what do you think of? Pro wrestling and various stories about racism, which not gonna say he's not immune to some bad things, but I will say this as well. Hulk Hogan also destroyed his reputation by lying his ass off. The dude said, "Yeah, I got contacted by Lars Ulrich from Metallica, and they wanted me to come in and try and be a bassist with a..." I was like, what? And then Lars Ulrich is just like, I have no idea what he's talking about. Because why the heck would he quit being... Because when Cliff Burton died in 1987... When Cliff Burton died in 1986... When Cliff died in 1986, Hulk Hogan was the biggest name in pro wrestling. He was making more money doing that than he would have as a bassist for Metallica. So why the heck would he quit to be bassist in a band that he was not going to make anywhere near as much money in? Makes no sense. Hulk Hogan also lies through his teeth about just it was my idea to do all the WrestleMania stuff in 1985, and Vince just took credit for it. No. Yeah, don't get me wrong, Vince McMahon is taking credit for a lot of things in his life that he doesn't need to take credit for. You know, The Shield, the rise of John Cena, and a multitude of other big things out there. But the whole deal with professional wrestling is that very rarely do you have heroes in the professional wrestling industry that are just as entertaining outside of the ring as they are in the ring. And also, someone who had the heart, not only was a giant, but had the heart of a giant. And look no further than Andre the Giant. I remembered when I was a kid, I used to think of Andre the Giant like a superhero. He was massive. The guy was 7 foot. He was over 7 feet tall, weighed over 500 pounds, and I saw him as just this monster of a guy who, was nice to kids. You'd see him on TV, shaking kids' hands and giving kids hugs and everything, lifting kids up on his shoulders and everything. It's just dude, this guy's awesome. And then when I was around 5 years old, I found out that he died. And, man, when your heroes go before you even have a chance to meet them or anything like that, like Jason David Frank, that's another one. I really wish I could have got to meet him. Had a chance to, but I had to drop out because of scheduling conflicts. But Andre the Giant had an amazing life, but also a tortured life. Because being as big as he was, you have to think, how is the world supposed to accommodate someone that big? Especially in Japan. And he was really popular in Japan, but they just couldn't accommodate him because the guy's literally just a giant. He said his biggest thing that he loved more than anything was just going home and actually being in a house that was built for him. And not have to, duck through doorways all the time, or worry about, the bed's not going to be big enough for him, or whether he can comfortably sit down just to take a shit. I mean, think about that. And it's the things that you don't think about. And Andre the Giant, also world famous drinker. Jake the Snake Roberts actually early on was a runner for a wrestling company at the time. He basically drove around the talent, stuff like that. He would referee matches, whatever odd jobs were available. And he got to drive Andre the Giant. And then Andre the Giant, it was like an hour and a half, 2-hour drive somewhere. And Andre was in the back of the van, just sitting there. And Jake was just like, Andre, do you want anything before we leave? And Andre just goes, beer. He's like, oh, okay. So what do you want? And Andre's like, 2 cases. Like 2 12-packs of beer. Yeah, so 24 beers. And it's a 3-hour trip. It's like a 2-hour trip, and Jake was just like, okay, well, Andre, I think I'll get a few for myself as well. Are you sure you want 2 cases? Like, yeah, 2 cases. And then he gets them back there to Andre, and Andre immediately just starts drinking. And every now and again, he's like, as Jake's driving, he keeps hearing that. And then they get there to the arena, and then Jake's just like, hey, Andre, you got any beers left? I think I want one. And Andre's like, no, finished. Son of a bitch, he drank 24 beers in 2 hours and didn't have to stop and take a piss.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. Not only that, but when you see what a beer can looked like in his hand, like a regular beer can, like, hold on. There. Yeah, Andre the Giant. This is a regular beer can in his hand. Look at that. Look at that. That's comedic, dude. That doesn't make any sense. Look at that. Like, okay. We got a can down here. I wish I did. Oh, okay. You got a monster can there, which is, I would say, about a little bit shorter than that. Look at that. That's insane. That is literally insane. He's palming a beer can. Oh. Anyway, yeah. So, either way, I guess.
I'm sure they'll talk about a lot of this in the video.
They probably will.
So just hop on in.
Andre the Giant's size gave him everything.
The largest and highest paid and best known wrestler in the entire world.
Once being listed by the Guinness Book of Records as the highest paid wrestler ever. These same genetics, however, made his life a living hell, with Andre famously stating, I would give much money to be able to spend 1 day per week as a man of regular size. When he was born, Andre already weighed 13 pounds or 6 whole kilos, which is almost double the average male baby, weighing 3.3 kilos or 7.5 pounds. Growing up, Andre played soccer, with his childhood friends stating he used to be the goalie, but the ball would never go in because he was so big. By the age of 12, Andre was 6'3" and 240 pounds or 108 kilos.
As I started going to school, I was bigger than all the kids.
He was too big to fit on the local school bus, and his family didn't have the money to buy a car that could deal with his weight. As a result, Andre left school to work on a farm, where one day a friend of the farm's owner drove slowly past the field in a Rolls Royce. I will own such a car as that someday, Andre said quietly. Stop dreaming and start raking, his father replied. You are a big boy, but that dream is too big even for you.
I said to my dad, someday I will get a car like this. And he said, quit dreaming and keep walking.
According to his brother, Andre did the farm work of 3 different men and would drive an unregistered car as the cops wouldn't dare to stop him. When he tried to join the military,
Andre was deemed unfit for service as there were no shoes big enough, bunks long enough, or trenches deep enough to accommodate him.
Yet these same issues made him a wrestling sensation. He'd officially become Andre the Giant, a famous televised wrestler, but more notably had grown so much, his own parents didn't recognize him when he came back home.
My parents, they was a big fan of me, they saw me on TV, but they don't know.
Your parents were offended. They didn't know it was you.
No, because I changed my name.
At over 7 foot tall and 500 pounds or 227 kilos, Andre saw a doctor to figure out why he'd grown so much. Acromegaly was the diagnosis, a rare 1 in 12,000 brain tumor causing the body to produce excessive growth hormone. It leads to extra large hands, feet and fingers, as well as a bigger jaw, nose, lips and tongue. According to Ripley's Believe It or Not, his fingers were so big around that the ring he wore had an opening that could easily fit a silver dollar, which is 38.1 mil. To put the size into perspective, the average man's finger is around 10 to 11 mil around. This could be seen in interviews like this.
This is his ring, and I kid you not, I can get all 3 fingers in that ring.
Damn.
That is, like I said, dude.
It's literally more than
With
3
people
times the
adding-
size of an average man.
Yes.
Favorite fact is that Andre was so large, he could push a hard-boiled egg through his wedding ring. My wife met him once and instead of a handshake, she said she could only shake one of his fingers. These elements made him so unique that when doctors offered to remove his tumor, Andre bluntly refused.
He decided that he didn't want treatment at that time because he thought it would interfere with his career as a wrestler.
Little did he know that the growth hormone never stopped, and it kept growing and growing, and it instead of him getting taller, instead it just made him bigger. And that's the shitty thing, man. I mean, that's why...
State, if this is the size that God wanted me to be, I'm going to be this size.
I use what God gave me. I'm not supernatural. I just myself. So what God gave me, I use it to make a living.
However, this gave him a short life expectancy.
The commissioned doctors at Madison Square Garden told me he's going to be lucky to live to be 40.
And meant he'd keep on growing until the day he'd die. By the time he'd joined the WWE, Andre had reached 7'4", peaking at 560 pounds or 225 kilos.
What size boot is that, Andre?
It's 22, size 22.
Take a look at that along my size 9.
This made him the most successful wrestler ever.
Without a doubt, Andre was the most famous wrestler in the world.
Yet it also continued to make his life harder.
It's difficult everywhere I go. They don't build anything for big people. They build everything for blind people, for crippled people, for some other people, but not for big people.
Andre was constantly visiting new cities.
The nature of your job, you're traveling all the time, aren't you? Like 320 nights a year.
Look at him in that chair.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee they had to get a big enough chair just for him to, like, sit in that. Like, because I guarantee you the couch they had for him was, like, too short.
Yeah, I mean, that chair's, like, probably, like, this size. Like,
Yeah.
we're kind of, like, immersed in the chair, and he's literally sitting like this.
Yeah, he was, like, that's unbelievable.
Here.
Yes.
Which came with its own set of challenges.
Hotel beds, are they a problem?
I tried to find a hotel where they got a king size bed. The worst is when I go in Japan, all those cars are so small.
Sure.
Even in a hotel, I can go through the door, I can go to the bathroom, everything is so small.
Andre was too large to fit inside most cars.
When I'm traveling with a car, I need 2 cars.
That's right. You can't even get in it.
There is nowhere for the giant to live anymore.
Yes, that's true. Well, you can put 1 car in each foot.
Taking a taxi wasn't a better alternative.
Funny story, one time we couldn't get a taxi because he was so big.
And when they finally got
Imagine
one,
seeing
Andre
one of
was
those
charged
massive trucks on the road nowadays, and just, like, they cut you off by accident, and you're just like, hey, asshole, with your big-ass truck, and then he steps out, and he's like, I'm very sorry, I did not mean...
He's like, I'm so sorry.
You're just like, Jesus Christ, okay, never mind, I take
Like,
back what I said about your big-ass truck.
I did not mean to cut you off in traffic. It's hard for me to drive. I can't turn my head as much as I used to.
Sound like Zoidberg.
Well, Zoidberg, yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to emulate his voice best.
I asked him how much he has, and we see the counter, he charges double. So you're a big guy, you have to pay double.
It seems that flying was
Bullshit.
Andre's only option, where he'd have to book the entire exit row. However, thankfully, he was able to fix this problem.
What about plane travel? Does that get old after a while? Awful?
I go in first class, but I don't really mind with it.
Despite this costing an absolute fortune,
I'm traveling so much. Last year I bought for $67,000 just an airplane ticket.
there was still another even bigger flying problem.
And that's back in the 80s, dude.
Andre couldn't fit inside the toilet. He therefore had to relieve himself prior to boarding.
Andre would always time it so that he would take a dump before, he went to the airport.
But in one notable instance, he forgot to go beforehand.
Oh, no.
He's up in first class, and he tells them, I gotta go. And they're like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do?
The onboard solution wasn't exactly glamorous.
He would relieve himself into a bucket, and then they bring it in and dump it into the toilet.
But in retrospect, the story's pretty funny.
The smell that started coming out, there was people falling out of their seats almost into the aisles, puking, crying, screaming.
Sadly, this didn't only apply to planes.
Where does he shit?
In the bathtub.
No.
Yeah, there's no toilet gonna take his ass.
And with monumental bells.
Man, no, yeah. I remember him talking about that, and it's true. He literally had to take a shit in the bathtub and then just run the bathtub and let it dissolve. And actually, they made a joke later on. I think it was Tony Hitchcock said, "Imagine doing hot yoga in that fucking bathroom after that shit."
Came monumental farts.
It sounded like, like a deep roar, kind of like thing it would rumble.
On the set of Princess Bride, this actually halted production.
He lets out the most monumental fart. The whole plywood set was shaking, and the sound guy lifted his headphones off his ears and was doing that, and it went on for, somebody timed it was 16 seconds.
While Andre's former wrestling opponents thought the wind lasted even longer.
And I could feel my fucking shoulder just vibrate like. You know how long a giant can fart?
How long?
About 40 seconds.
Andre was so different to everybody else, it got to the point of public ridicule. Hulk Hogan explained when we'd walk through the airports, if he got ahead of me, I'd hear all the unkind things that people would say. Oh my God, look at that guy. It would just break my heart.
They perceived him as a freak of nature, and that hurt Andre more than anything. This guy was very sensitive. Boss, sometimes they laugh at me, they point at me. It hurts my feelings. You never think a guy like that would cry? But he would cry.
Andre stated in an interview, I would give much money to be able to spend 1 day per week as a man of regular size. I would shop and I would go to the cinema and drive around in a sports car and walk down Fifth Avenue and stare at the other people for a change. Disguising himself in public simply wasn't possible.
Muhammad Ali could put on a trench coat and a ball cap. Andre the Giant couldn't hide in the backseat of a car.
Instead opting to numb himself completely.
He never, ever, ever quit drinking. He drank from the time he got up to the time he went to bed. If he could figure out a way, he'd just done it in his sleep.
While Andre's drinking feats are often highly romanticized, there's no denying he had a serious problem.
He started drinking about 9 o'clock in the morning. He drank I'm not exaggerating, 20 bottles of new Beaujolais.
Doing so to cope with his difficult life.
He drank because he was in pain. His spine and his neck and his knees gave him a lot of trouble.
He'd drink 6 bottles of wine before every wrestling match, with Jake the Snake explaining that Andre once drank 48 beers in a single car trip.
That was 48. I thought it was 24. My mistake.
He drank 2 cases of beer and did not have to piss. How can you do that?
This was nothing compared to a different night.
Is it true that you, in one sitting, drank 117 beers?
Yes.
Were you drunk at the end of that?
I don't remember. I think I passed out.
With Andre's unofficial record being...
If you don't remember, then you're probably drunk.
Yeah. Actually, during one of those benders where he drank over 100 beers, he literally was waiting in the hotel lobby and he fell asleep on the floor and he was too big to move. So they literally just grabbed a carpet and threw it over top of him. Just let him sleep there.
Beers in one sitting, which fellow wrestlers Dusty Rhodes and Michael Hayes confirmed. However, this only added extra weight onto his body.
I myself saw him almost every night drink 7,000 calories worth of alcohol.
Which seemed to be the primary motive for why he eventually quit.
But you don't drink anymore?
Not since 14 months ago I quit.
You feel better for not drinking?
Yeah, because when I was drinking beer, I used to weigh 560 pounds.
And you've trimmed down now to?
Right now, I'm 470.
This led to the infamous Andre the Giant vs. Hulk Hogan, after which his career was basically over. When he next came to a match, Andre was using crutches, showing the decline of his physical health.
Damn.
tied to a ranch in North Carolina until he flew back to France for his father's funeral. He'd take this photo after the ceremony without realizing that 3 days later, Andre himself would die of a heart attack.
I'd like to announce the death of one of my favorite wrestlers and one of the most famous wrestlers of all time. He died this week in Paris, France, after going home to his father's funeral.
His body was too large to fit in any French crematorium, and as a result, he was shipped back to the USA. His ashes weighed 17 pounds or almost 8 kilos, being just another reason he's remembered as a legend.
Yep.
It's like on top of his physical features and stuff, he was just kind of a wholesome dude, you know?
Absolutely, man.
It's like a lot of people with alcoholic problems are assholes, but he never seemed to be an asshole or anything, you know?
Well, there was one story they didn't tell in this. I'll tell it, and I'll keep it short. There was a time they were in France, and he was out enjoying the night with his friends. They were on a wrestling tour, and these guys threw a beer can at the back of his head. Just ping. Andre didn't pay no mind to it because he didn't care. It didn't hurt him or anything like that. But then, about another minute or two goes by, he's talking to his friends. All of a sudden, ping, another beer can. Andre then looks back at those guys that threw it at him, and then the guys were just like, like paying no mind, like just like acting like they didn't do nothing. And then, one more time, ping.
These dudes have no self-preservation like instinct, do they?
No, they don't. This was when Andre was still in like his like late 20s, early 30s, so he could still move.
Mm-hmm.
So he literally picks up the table and he moves it out of the way, and he goes and he runs and he chases those guys outside. They pile into this little itty bitty French car. I can't remember. I think it might have been a Peugeot.
Did he flip it over?
Yes. He literally flipped it over. They were trying to get away, and he reached under. Was like, flipped it over on its hood, and then next thing you know, the cops show up, and the cops arrest the three assholes that threw the beer cans at Andre.
Nice.
And Andre didn't get even so much as a slap on the wrist. Because why the fuck would he?
That's how justice should work.
Exactly. Well, those three were being assholes, and everyone in the bar knew it. Everyone in the bar said, "Yeah, Andre just came out here and he just kept them from getting away. They assaulted him."
Mm-hmm.
And those three got arrested. So, awesome. I love that shit, dude. That's the kind of stuff that's kind of justice I like. But, yeah, Andre the Giant, man. What a hero, in my mind. He's a wrestling hero. He's a larger-than-life personality. And someone who didn't let the industry beat him. Instead, it was just like how naturally big he was. And sad to say that he's gone. Sad to see that he's gone, but hey, we're still here talking about him almost. Actually, it's been over 30 years now since he's passed away.
Mm-hmm.
So it just goes to show you the staying power that he had in terms of just like everyone in their minds and everything. But anyway, that was Andre the Giant, How Amazing Genetics Make Life Impossible by Sunny V2. If you all enjoyed and you want to see more from Sunny V2 or anything like that, feel free to click their links in the description and everything. And yeah, if you want to see more from us, we have over there by Nick, you should see a random video or a recommended video. We highly recommend that you check out more of our stuff. And of course, over here, we'll probably have links to our Renegade TV channel, either one of the many shows that we're reacting to over there. And I guess if you all want to like and subscribe, we greatly appreciate it. So until then, I'm Nate.
I am Nick.
Y'all be good people. Take care of yourselves. Peace.